New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
Live from a secure concrete bunker somewhere in Ohio, New Thought Media Network presents Pastor Michael Mangus with Friday's Fireside Chat, spiritual conversation for today. Here he is from the secret radio room, surrounded by thousands of watts, Pastor Michael Mangus.
Ah, yes, as a thousands cheer. Well, hello there to everyone. You are in tune for another fun-filled, thrill-packed, and yes, it is a guaranteed, always exciting edition of the Fireside Chat here on your New Thought Media Network. I am the Reverend Michael Mangus. I am broadcasting this evening from the top secret radio room in the secure concrete bunker that is so secure that only one person, and that is my former producer, Diego Reyes, only he knows where it's at. Everyone else has no clue, especially the Reverend Robert Brzezinski, our Chief Inspirational Officer here at the New Thought Media Network, and Reverend Jeff Radcliff. Now, they have both tried to send radio trucks around to try to find the top secret radio room in the secure concrete bunker, but they have failed. And we're going to keep it that way too. Well, hi there. Welcome. Good to see everyone this evening. We are recording because I have a wedding tonight, and also that it's past Reverend Jeff's bedtime. So, but for all of those people who would like to comment, please do so. And for all of my shy people out there, I know you're out there. If you go to pastormichaelmangus@gmail.com, pastormichaelmangus@gmail.com, send me a note. Tell me that you're watching, listening, doing something. Always like to get those kinds of emails. So pastormichaelmangus@gmail.com. So the purpose of our chat here weekly is to talk about contemporary issues from a spirituality, new thought perspective. And as I keep saying over and over again, I want us all to have a new thought about what is going on in the world and to see our part in it. And again, we talk at our centers, and especially on this network, about the whole idea of oneness. So if we are one, then we are also a part of the solution to bring that about. So again, just listen with not just your mind, but with your heart, and ask yourself, what is my part in this, and what is my part to play in the healing of the world? So my guest today is no stranger to the Fireside Chat from somewhere in Tennessee. And I think he's in witness protection. Is that true, Jeff? Yeah. From somewhere in Tennessee, away from all the conservatives, in an undisclosed location. Our guest today is the Reverend Jeff Radcliff. Jeff is an ordained divine science minister and former broadcaster. Jeff has always a thing or two to share about the news and, again, how we can apply our spirituality in the world. Jeff Radcliff will be our very special guest at the bottom of the hour. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for the news. And our first story, batten down the hatches, here comes Lee. Hurricane Lee will be taking a swipe at parts of coastal New England and also the Atlantic Canadian region starting on Friday, with heavy rains and strong winds that could lead to localized flooding and the knockout of power across the communities. Lee will continue to track north and weaken through Friday, and its center will be hundreds of miles off the United States East Coast. But its massive size with strong winds extending far from the center of the storm means gusty winds, locally heavy rains, and high surf that will push into New England. Isolated flooding is possible as Lee drenches parts of New England with several inches of rain Friday night into Saturday. Lee is tracking to make landfall in Canada, in New Brunswick, sometime tomorrow. Also in the weather news, there's been flooding in Libya. Emergency teams are working to find survivors and retrieve bodies after a massive flood hit Libya's northeast 3 days ago, killing at least 8,000 people and leaving 10,000 missing. Eyewitness footage shared on social media showed the devastation after the floods, with collapsed rooftops and tumbled cars amid the destroyed infrastructure. Satellite images showed that buildings in the worst hit city of Derna was destroyed by water and sand. The coastal city shores appeared to have been severely eroded. Libya has been riven with political turmoil since the civil war erupted in 2014 and now has two rival governments, the Eastern Parliament-backed government in Benghazi and also the internationally recognized government in Tripoli. Each has reported conflicting numbers for victims following the catastrophic flood in the country. CNN is unable to independently verify the numbers of the deaths of those who are missing. Analysts say that the politically fragmented situation in Libya only complicates rescue missions and also international aid delivery. Most countries have sent their aid to Benghazi, the closest major city to Derna, and also its surrounding towns. Algeria, however, has sent its aid to the UN-recognized government in Tripoli, some 1,000 miles away. Tamir Ramadan, who is the head of the International Federation of the Red Cross and also the Red Crescent, told CNN on Tuesday that the issue of rival governments in Libya does not affect its operations. He says, we have a good relationship with officials in both governments. And as I have said in previous weeks here, thoughts and prayers are wonderful. They're great. And I do believe that they help. However, what helps most in disasters, when stuff happens, is your financial giving. The situation in Libya with the two governments makes it more difficult. And so that's why I encourage individuals to do the research to where their money is going. And again, we're in a climate crisis. How bad does it have to get before governments and industry do something about it? We must continue to work for change on our planet, which not only includes electric cars, but also the amount of emissions that we put into the air. When are we going to do something about it? So that's why I say that we need to keep up the activism. We need to hold our politicians and also our industries accountable and also responsible here in our country. Well, they had some cyber attacks last week in Las Vegas. MGM Resorts and Caesar Entertainment are recovering from cyber attacks this week. that tested the computer defenses of the multi-billion-dollar hotels in Las Vegas. Hackers stole Social Security numbers and driver's licenses from a significant number of loyalty program customers at Caesars Entertainment, the hospitality giant said on Thursday. At MGM Resorts, guests reportedly that they were unable to make room charges and also access their rooms with their digital keys. The issues were a result of a cybersecurity issue, and the systems are operational again, MGM says. It currently remains unclear who was responsible for the pair of attacks. I bring that up because this week I got a letter from my previous insurance company saying that my information may have been compromised. I've had credit reporting and also monitoring since my debit card got compromised last year. So take your information seriously. Get some type of monitoring on your account. All right. This is no joke. I spent probably the better part of 6 weeks at my local bank figuring out what was going on. Also in the news here locally, and we'll talk with Reverend Jeff Radcliff about this, the Catholic Diocese of Cleveland changes policy on gender identity for schools and also parishes. And this is from our local station, WOIO, News 19. It says the Catholic Diocese of Cleveland recently announced several LGBTQ plus changes for all their parish schools, diocesan schools, parishes, and also offices. This new policy affects employees, personnel, volunteers, students, and youth participating in parish or institutional faith formation. Bishop Edward C. Malasek, Malasek, I think that's how you pronounce it. Edward C. Malasek and also Chancellor Vincent Gardner signed a policy on August 30th, and it went effective on September 1st. And this is what was written. In response to the societal trends and at the request of church and school leadership, the Catholic Diocese of Cleveland has taken the existing guidance and practices in a matter of sex, sexuality, and gender identity and developed them into a formal policy rooted in Scripture and also Christian teaching, they say church teaching, to help ensure that these matters are addressed in a consistent, pastorally sound, and authentically Catholic manner across our diocese and parish institutions and schools. These are some of the changes. Are you ready? Only pronouns that accurately reflect a person's God-given biological sex, and that's in quotes, a God-given biological sex, shall be used when addressing that person. When in institutions' bathrooms or facilities, all persons must use the bathrooms or other facilities that correspond to their God-given biological sex. Oh, it goes on. No person may attend a dance, mixer, or similar event with a date of the same God-given biological sex or express or display public sexual attraction to members of the same sex at the event. All institutional records shall reflect a person's God-given biological sex and legal name. No person may engage in so-called social transitions, surgeries, or medical treatment that seek to transition the person to a sex or gender inconsistent with his or her God-given biological sex. And symbols such as the LGBTQ pride rainbow or LGBTQ pride flags are not allowed to be displayed. So this is the comment from Cleveland's Mayor Justin Bibb. He says, I extend my heartfelt solidarity to our LGBTQ plus friends and students. Rest assured that this policy, along with any expression of hate, does not go unnoticed. The reason I point stuff like this out is because, again, that if it's happening in my backyard, it's happening in your backyard too. So Pope Francis came out a few weeks ago and said that if you are LGBTQ plus, that you are still allowed to come to the Catholic Church for Mass or public celebration. However, you are not in full communion with the church, and you are not allowed to participate in any of the sacraments that include communion and marriage. Now, this statement from my diocese here in the Akron-Cleveland area should not be shocking. And why? It's because it's the official stance of the Catholic Church. And my priest friends in the Episcopal Church, who just installed this week a woman bishop, are putting out the welcome mat to all. And also that welcome mat goes out to anyone who would like an inclusive community. This invitation is extended to any of our New Thought churches and also centers for spiritual living. We are all inclusive. God is love. We extend that hand of love to you, no matter what the Catholic Church teaches. Again, that the Catholic Church in the past has repented. And so hopefully that in the next few years is that they will do the same thing here. And my question to you is this: what would Jesus do? What would Buddha do? Would they exclude anyone? Or honor the God within each and every person? All right. One last story. And I've been saving this story for several weeks, and because of time, I haven't talked about it. But The Great Unchurching is a new book that's out that looks at why people are leaving churches. And we'll talk more about this with Reverend Jeff here in just a few moments. Jim Davis and Michael Graham knew something was up in their hometown of Orlando, but they couldn't put a finger on it. And the reason being is at the time that they were both pastors at Orlando Grace Church, which is an evangelical congregation, and saw a study showing that their community had the same percentage of evangelicals as less traditionally Christian cities like New York and Seattle. Their city also ranked low on a list of Bible-minded cities. Now, again, this is Florida now, with a profile more akin to cities with secular reputations than the Bible Belt communities like Birmingham, Alabama, or Nashville, or the secret location in Tennessee where the Reverend Jeff Radcliff is located, of which I'm not allowed to tell you. This did not make any sense to these two pastors. Now, understand this. Orlando is the home to CRU, C-R-U, which is a shortened form of Campus Crusade for Christ, a major campus ministry, along with Wycliffe Bible Translators, of which I had a friend of mine work for them at one time, and also other major Christian nonprofits, as well as booming and influential megachurches like First Baptist and Northland Church. And Orlando felt different from New York or Seattle. Davis said this. He said, then it hit us. It is because our people used to go to church. And he and Graham knew of a number of people who had stopped going to church, and the two pastors started wondering how common that was. And they began looking for data. And while there were studies of the so-called nuns, and not the ones who wear habit, but N-O-N-E-S, those who do not identify with any faith group, there were few about church-going habits. So what they did was they raised a bunch of money, and they got 2 political scientists to create what they think is the largest ever study of folks who stopped going to church. What happened was after these 2 social scientists went ahead and did their study and presented it to these 2 pastors, it led them to some sobering conclusions. It said that more people have left the church in the last 25 years than all the new people who became Christians from the First Great Awakening, Second Great Awakening, and the Billy Graham Crusades combined. Davis and Graham wrote in the book. And the book and the study prompted it were driven by curiosity and also stubbornness. If we got a question that we need an answer to, we're not going to stop until we get it, Graham says. Now, again, that he is now a member and a program director of what's called Keller Center, which helps churches to adapt to the changing religious landscapes. It helps Christian churches, okay? Let's get real clear about that. I went on the Keller Center's website. This book appears to have struck a nerve with both church leaders and the broader public. Data from the book was featured in a series of New York Times columns about the changing religious landscape and what it might mean for American culture. There's so much we can talk about here. Davis says that the people leaving the church is often seen by a catastrophic event caused by the church's misconduct or hurt. That plays a role, but he says the reasons that people leave the church are more complicated and sometimes more mundane. The dechurched also differ in why they may return. Mainstream evangelicals were looking for friendship, while mainline and Catholic dechurched Americans were more interested in spiritual practices and outreach programs. Many dechurched Americans might return if, and I want everyone to listen to this, especially in New Thought, if they found a stable and healthy congregation. But those congregations aren't always easy to find given the level of polarization affecting the church and other institutions. Among other findings, Americans who have higher level of educations or are more successful in life are less likely to drop out. That concerns Davis, who worries that churches only work with people on the so-called success path in life. So despite the sobering statistics, Davis and Graham remain hopeful about the future and end their book with a set of exhortations for church leaders. And part of their advice is this: the churching did not happen overnight and will not be reversed quick. Congregations will need what the authors called relationship wisdom and a quiet, calm, and curious demeanor, where leaders are quick to listen and slow to speak. Okay. First of all, my commentary is that this has been happening for years. This has been predicted back in the 80s that this would happen, that individuals would become spiritual. They would not rely upon an institution. And I agree with the researchers and also the pastors, is that what individuals are looking for is healthy spiritual communities without all the drama, that truly do love each other and accept each other and are friends with each other and are willing to reach out across the aisle to someone that they don't know and to say, we are so glad you're here. Can I get your name and number? Can we talk during the week? It's not getting the slick pastor or minister, because a lot of that's on YouTube. This is about forming communities of love that are accepting, that allow people to be right where they're at, and also encourages them in their own spiritual growth and also in community service. We'll talk more with Jeff Radcliff about that after our break. Well, good evening, everyone. Hi, how are you? This is a Friday evening fireside chat here on your New Thought Media Network. I am Reverend Michael. Good to see everyone this evening. So we have a few announcements. The first announcement is that this Sunday, yours truly is still at Summit Center for Spiritual Living. And for more information, go to summitcsl.org. For more information about our wonderful Sunday gathering at 10:30 Eastern, 7:30 in the morning, not Mountain Time, but Pacific Time. See, I have to dwell in all these different time zones because I work with people around the country. So grab your cup of coffee, your tea, your espresso, come see us. We'd love to have you experience what we experience, which is the love and the acceptance that we feel for each other in our community. And this Sunday is our birthday girl who's celebrating her birthday today. Happy birthday to practitioner Diana Mangus, our SCP, and she'll have a wonderful message, the birthday girl. So go to summitcsl.org for more information on how to join our Zoom call and all of our past broadcasts are on my Facebook page and also the Summit Center for Spiritual Living Facebook page. I almost forgot. How could I forget that? And also my personal YouTube channel. All right. We would really appreciate your financial help right now here at our network. We are working on lots of different projects. It's still convention season in a couple of weeks. I'll be going with Reverend Robert to Anton, the Associated New Thought Network at Unity Village. We have so many programs coming on. My production schedule has doubled over the past 2 weeks of shows that I'm producing for other ministers here. We have the opportunity with this network to show love to the whole world, that we are a practical spirituality that takes into consideration, again, all the traditions and also all the positive good that is found in religion and puts it into a spirituality that is for everyone. So if you could please go to ntmedia.org/donate. If you have not given in the past, please do so now, because it really not only helps you in the giving, but it also affects the whole entire world. Isn't that exciting? When I do prayer on weeknights here on New Thought Media Network, I have people from across the globe praying with us. Isn't that wonderful? So we in New Thought are not becoming, again, the best secret, but we're becoming, again, the best known philosophy out there. That's our goal. So again, if you go to ntmedia.org/donate, there you can go ahead and again give a very generous one-time gift, or you can do like I do, which is give a monthly sustaining gift. That really helps us. That monthly sustaining gift helps us to set budgets and also to pay bills, including all the bills that I put in for conferences to Reverend Robert, which was a whole big stack of them. Just go ntmedia.org/donate. We really appreciate and say thank you for all that you do. Okay. Time for us to go to break. Jeff, I've talked too long. It's all your fault. I know he's going to say, oh, it's not your fault. Okay. We're going to go to break. We'll be right back. This is the Friday evening Fireside Chat here on your New Thought Media Network.
Choice, your creative superpower. We have the power to manifest as we dedicate attention to our thoughts, but often miss opportunity to achieve the greatest good. Your superpower is waiting to be unleashed to unlock a fuller, more rewarding world for all. Join us every Thursday at noon Mountain Time for Choice, your creative superpower with Zoe DeMuro. And now,
Blessings, everybody. My name is Jafon Seeley. Could you imagine what is actually possible when we start honoring and recognizing our inherent worth, realizing that we are that which is assisting and co-creating our experience? And with that understanding, start recognizing that every human, every individual, everything that we interact with reflects that same inherent worth.
It's not about an adventure, it's about the atmosphere of the consciousness of adventure, the lifestyle of adventure. How many people would say that their lifestyle is adventurous?
My name is Lisa Benson. I'm a diversity, equity, and inclusion consultant and the author of Anchored in Bias, Fired Over White Tears. It's a book detailing my lived experiences with workplace bias and what fueled my passion for normalizing conversations about differences and creating safe spaces for everyone to bring the best version of themselves to life every day.
The views and opinions expressed by Pastor Michael Mangus are generally right. However, they are his own and do not reflect the views and opinions of New Thought Media Network, Centers for Spiritual Living, or any other person living or dead. As they say in the 12-Step Recovery Program, take what you like and leave the rest. Here again is Pastor Michael.
And to, boy, I like to talk, don't I, Jeff?
I could talk. I could address that with you right now if you'd like.
Yes, you can. Please do.
Okay.
The Reverend Jeff Radcliff, my friend from Tennessee, wonderful guest here, and always love his opinion. Go ahead, Jeff.
All right, here we go. You asked for it. You seem inordinately, what's a good word? Enamored.
Okay.
With a pregnant pause.
Okay.
And I know that what's happening is you're stopping because you're reading your notes or
Yeah.
whatever. But you need to, I would tell you to stop that, but
Yeah.
since abortion has been banned, I can't tell you to stop your pregnant pause.
Okay.
Did you get that? I sat here for the longest time trying to formulate the best way to put that joke across, and I blew it.
Okay. Well,
But
anyhow, it's just the news,
yeah,
believe me, I have a whole other stack of stuff that I could have gotten into. But anyhow, all right. I'll quit with the pregnant pause. And
oh,
so, Jeff,
okay.
what's your any initial comments on the news here?
Oh my gosh. Well, first of all, the death toll in Libya has gone over 11,000. So like 11,300 the last I saw. So the flooding there is just astronomical. What I found interesting was that the king of Libya doesn't even live there. He was not in the country. He has a house in France, and
Right.
that's where he was when all this went down. Um, I mean, yeah, he flew back to Libya after the fact, but which I find kind of interesting because President Biden just got back from Asia
Mm-hmm.
and caught a lot of flack from the GOP because number one, he was in Alaska on 9/11, and they thought that he should be at least in DC, if not in New York, for commemorative events.
Mm-hmm.
The man was working, and he was on his way home. You can't fault him for that. And they also gave him a bit of hell for having a press conference and ending it by saying, "Now I'm going to bed." Like he's tired. The Sleepy Joe thing. They did not take into consideration the fact that the man, number one, was jet lagged,
Yes.
and so he worked the equivalent of an all-nighter. And who of us, having been up, having gone to college, or not even, but having worked all night long, would not be ready to go to sleep after that?
Oh,
So
absolutely. Or those of us who have done night shift at radio stations.
exactly, been there, done that. This great de-churching thing,
Okay.
I found a boatload of stuff on there. A lot of it that you had sent, but I found a really interesting op-ed from Washington Post that was written a year and a half ago by a man named Brian Broom. And basically, he said that in this day and age, you can find a church that will tell you exactly what it is you want to hear.
Right.
So religion is dividing people. And this is a quote from him. He said, "I often think that faith in God can be just as self-serving as staring at yourself in a mirror. The way a religion is practiced too commonly reflects the person who's practicing it.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to be rich, you can find a religion that tells you that's what God wants you to be. If you're a misogynist, you'll find a church that will reaffirm your misogyny. If you don't like our politics or some of our political leaders, there's a pew with your name on it somewhere, maybe closer than you think." And we here in New Thought are cognizant of our connection with spirit, with
Yes.
God. We are individualizations of that. So what we're looking at here from what he's saying is that we're being divided because people are not remembering that God being omnipresence itself basically means that you and I are one. And so are we with everybody else out there. So what we're
Mm-hmm.
looking at is basically God showing up in expression of these different ideas.
Yes.
But a lot of people don't want to see it that way. They use that as an excuse, I guess, to maybe further segregate themselves. And that's, it's like Broom goes on to say, if your religion is telling you who to marginalize, ostracize, and hate, it's more than likely not your religion. It's just you, or at least your individual expression of that.
Well, you
But
mean if You mean if I go to a church without women pastors, if I go to a church that is anti-LGBTQ, so that's a reflection more on me than it is on the church, correct?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. He did say this, and I thought this was cool. He said, I know many kind people who practice their religions in ways that make us hopeful, in ways that are open and loving, people who aim not to convert, but to comfort, not to shame, but to lift up, not to demonize, but to include. I find this a testament of who they are as people. And I find that to be true here in the buckle of the Bible Belt. I mean, and a lot of people say that that's where they are in the buckle of the Bible Belt. Honey, in Tennessee, this is the Bible Belt. There are a few little blue oases in this huge sea of red.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the Bible Belt here, and I was thinking about this last night. I was in one of the local community chat rooms, and there are a lot of really nice people in there, helpful, kind, but there are a lot of hateful, evil, mean, nasty expressions of divinity in there as well. And they will hop on you like a chicken on a June bug, as my grandmother would say. And I find this in the communities as well. Got a couple just down the road who go to their Baptist church, their Southern Baptist church, every time the doors are open, Sunday, Wednesday evening, all that. But yet they were very quick to express some very unloving opinions to actually one of their family members that they had an issue with. And I'm thinking to myself, Jesus taught us to love each other, love God and love one another. And he said, you do those two things, and every other thing that is, being a Jew, for him, it was the 10 Commandments. He said, you love God and you love everybody else, then all the other commandments are taken care of.
Yes.
It kind of disturbed me. I toyed with the idea of contacting their pastor and saying, you might want to address the way some of your congregation are dealing with people outside of your church, because this is not a good look for you. They are the face of your church.
Yes.
And dude, no. But I thought, I don't want to come across wrong to this gentleman. That's why I like the New Thought concept, because we are loving. Now we do have our issues. Every church movement or spiritual movement has its issues, but for the most part, you will find the love that you're looking for.
Absolutely.
In that other article that you were talking about,
from the Cleveland Diocese.
Yeah, where they were, you talked about the nuns. Well, first of all, the United States is late to this party of becoming a more secularized country, because, we're looking at Europe, we're looking at England and Australia. These countries have fallen away, so to speak, from a Christian standpoint, years ago. And there was a gentleman, and I'm looking for his name right now, Stephen Bullivant. He wrote a book called Non-Verts, The Making of Ex-Christian America. He's a professor of theology. And he said, and I found this very interesting, he said, what happens in America that I think dampens down the rise of the nuns is the Cold War. Because in America, unlike in Britain, there's a very explicit kind of Christian America versus godless communism framing. And to be non-religious is to be un-American. I think that dampens it down until you get the millennial generation for whom the Cold War is just a vague memory from their early childhood. And so, our kids who are, up and coming now, they've not had that. They're just seeing little bits and pieces of the hangers on who talk about the godless communist and how we've got to stand against them. And so, yeah, to be unreligious, non-religious is to be un-American. It's disturbing.
Well, again, that I think that, that whole idea of separation of church and state also goes with that I can practice whatever that I want as long as it doesn't harm myself or other people. So I get that with, again, that's why our country was founded, was because the people came because of religious persecution. But again, that this whole idea of the great dechurching is, again, it's been happening for some time.
Right.
So what I'm noticing, though, in healthier communities, whether they be New Thought or some of these mega churches, which some of them are healthy, some of them aren't, is that what I see again is forming is a sense of community. And that is what people are looking for. And that I am asking all of our New Thought congregations to start modeling that. Some do, some don't. When you have infighting in the church, when you have people saying this and that about the minister, when you have individuals who do not like certain individuals, and, because that they may on Sunday mornings omit a noter. There are some of the mega churches, they will take the individuals who are handicapped and also who don't dress as nice as they would like, and they'll put them back in the back rather than put them up front because it's bad for business.
Mm-hmm.
This is the kind of stuff that people are tired of, is that what I think that people want a sense of community. I get that, and want it in a healthy manner, and are very hesitant to give that a second chance at all. So that's why I see again the whole, destructuring of the church,
Right.
of especially the Christian church. And it was really interesting in the article from that I just read from is the Keller Center, which is named after prominent the late Timothy Keller. Again, is their answer to the solution is getting back people into Christianity. I looked on their website. Personally, I don't think that's the case. I think the case is for people, again, to find communities that honor wherever that they are on their path and something that supports them on the path. Your comments, Reverend Jeff.
Yeah. In something that I read from Michael Graham, who was the co-author of that book, he said in sociology of religion, there are 3 B's that are important. He said belief, behavior, and belonging. He said a lot of what's been written over the past decades is more about belief and behavior, but affiliation and attendance is about belonging. And all 3 of these things mutually influence each other in complex ways. And he said the loss of a sense of belonging, many sociologists believe, is contributing to the rising number of Americans who say they're lonely. And as I was thinking of that, I remember back when I first started college over 40 years ago.
That's a long time.
An American Baptist college. And, they are.
Go ahead.
They are very liberal. I'm going to ignore you. They're pretty liberal as opposed to the Southern Baptist variety. But they had a band who came to sing, give a concert for us. And I'm sorry, I'm going to pull this up on the website real quick because I lost it here earlier. I had to reboot the computer. They had a song. This Christian band was called Servant, and they were one of the early parts of the Jesus movement of the
Yes.
70s. They have a song called Isolated, which speaks exactly to this. And if you don't mind, I'd like to read some of the lyrics.
Oh, please do. Go ahead.
It says, I've got a secret and nobody knows about it. My wife and I are fighting. We're almost separating, and there's nothing I can do to stop it. So I sat there, silent in the Bible study. I could not communicate. There was no way I could relate, and I was too afraid to tell anybody. And the chorus goes on to say, somebody tell me. I really want to know. Somebody tell me. Why are we so isolated? I called up the church, and they put me on hold. The secretary said the pastor's out to lunch, but I could catch him after 18 holes. So much later, after a toke or two, I was feeling a little bit better. And a thought occurred to me. If I just see you once a week, then why do we need each other? And there's a bridge in the song, which is really telling as well. He says, come next Sunday, we'll all get together again. I'll have a lonely 6 days and I'll be all messed up by then. Come next Sunday, we'll all get together, and when we sing about the power, share it for an hour, shake hands, and we're on our own again. How can we, as spiritual people, treat our brothers and sisters like that?
Right.
We'll share time and space for a little while, and then once again, we're on our own. And the song ends with this. He says, I really need some money, and it isn't a joke, but I'm afraid you wouldn't even speak to me if you knew that I was broke. But I got the finance company, and they take good care of me, but it's such a shame. Why can't we be a family like he wants us to be and stop playing these silly games?
Now, those lyrics and that song would not be played on Happy Clappy Christian radio today.
No, it would not.
No, absolutely not. Because again, if you listen to Christian radio, which I do once in a while in the car, is that again, it's all, faith in Jesus. They sing about Jesus and all the good things about Jesus, and basically, Jesus is my boyfriend.
Yeah.
Jesus is my girlfriend. I'm not kidding. This is, again, listen to Christian radio sometime. See, what Servant was saying again was that's the truth. And that the solution to that, again, is community, where we not only gather together, but we really get to know one another. That we also do not form cliques in the church, meaning that we don't isolate out other people. And I see it in New Thought churches where, again, you will only talk to your little group and then not extend your hand to somebody else that's outside the group to bring them in or to include them in your discussion or in your circle. So that's, I think, again, the whole idea of forming healthy communities, of studying this, of individuals, again, owning up to their own crap, as far as with the shadow side stuff, because I've pastored churches. What comes up again is not, they blame the pastor, but again, that what happens is that the origin of it is within them. So they're projecting onto the pastor their stuff.
Yeah. And we're seeing that politically as well.
Right.
I have been to New Thought churches where nobody came up to welcome me other than, the people at the door, the welcome committee, they're at the door. The congregants walked right past me. I'm one of those people that I'm not afraid to get in your face. And I walked up to a couple of people and I said,
including me, go ahead.
I'm visiting your church today. This is really cool. And it just took them aback because it was like, why are you talking to me? I don't know you. I'm worth getting to know. Everybody's worth getting to know. To be standoffish like that, to ignore visitors to your church home, that's unconscionable.
Yeah, I went into, I'm not going to say, but I went in, I was asked to speak at a church, and it was interesting. And I kind of timed it that, again, here I am, a stranger, walking through the halls, and no one comes up to me and says, "Hi, how are you?" Or,
Right.
what brings you here today, or anything like that. None of that happened. And that, so, and again, that's like you said, I've had churches before that, again, that just ignore you. And this is New Thought churches. I'm picking on our people here,
Right.
rather than, again, people coming up and saying, "We're really glad you're here. What brought you here?" Again, the minister, everyone at a center is a minister, whether they know it or not.
Mm.
Yes, we have our practitioners, and we have our the people that we have up in front that call themselves Rev, that we have allowed that privilege to be a minister. However, see, that's not going to cut it, especially with the newcomers. They are testing with all senses, including their sixth sense, about whether or not I want to come back here or not. So I think, again, it's really important that we, again, that clean house, learn from the study here. Yes, it's has its Christian origin, but I think that, again, from a society viewpoint, I think that we need to start incorporating some of these ideas that they're saying back in, especially the whole idea of healthy community.
Right. I came across 4 different reasons for decline in church attendance. And the author, and I can't remember what his name was, I don't know that I noted that, said that shifting cultural values, and we're seeing that culture wars, and a lot of it's politicized. People are busy, they've got busier schedules. And you touched on this a little bit with the Catholic Church, scandal-plagued institutions. People don't want to be part of that. COVID, when we were locked down and the churches were closed for a while, people got to the point of like, oh, well, now that the church is open again, we could go. We probably should go, but we're so used to doing other things. Let's just think about going to church next week. And then next week
or not at all.
Yeah, and next week gets here and they don't do anything. And also when you stop to think about how the people in some of these churches have, and I talked about this earlier, have bullied other people,
Yes.
have just railed on people, LGBTQ. They don't like the foreigners, the brown people and the black people, and we've got and if let's own the libs. This coming from the churches. Who wants to be in that environment?
Yeah.
Who wants to go where you're not wanted?
You're not going to believe this,
But we're out of time.
we're out of time.
I knew it. It's your fault.
So yeah,
You
you
cut
know
into
what?
my
I
time.
will. Yes, you know what? I will take the blame here. Yes, and I will learn, like Diego said, to keep it under 20 minutes. I know.
Thank you for letting me pick on you.
Oh no, dude. Again, I really love and appreciate you. I think that you, again, being opinionated and also speaking out and holding other people accountable, including me, that I think that that's in a loving way. I think that that's what's always needed. So thank you always for your observations. I may not agree with them, but
Well, like your
Okay.
disclaimer says, your opinions are right, but they don't reflect
everyone's.
Thought Media Network.
That's right.
So-
Centers for Spiritual Living, Jeff Radcliff, or anyone else sane. All right, sir. Thank you again for
Thank
being
you
a part
for
of our
having me. I
gathering,
appreciate
and
it.
we will have you back soon. And I will, at that time, I will shorten it to 20 minutes.
I need to get a watch so I can make sure. Thank you for having
the timer. The timer is in the upper.
I know, but
corner.
I'm so busy looking at my notes and looking at you and trying to make eye contact that I don't pay much attention.
Okay.
But I know that it's there. I will be more cognizant.
Okay. Thank you, Jeff. We will see you soon. Okay. And we're out of time here. And again, if you could help us out, please. We're coming out of summer into the fall, and that if you watch our network on a regular basis, we would ask that you help us out, because that we have such rich programming that we give here, that if you could, again, make us a part of your monthly giving, that would be greatly appreciated. So go to ntmedia.org/donate. And thank you so very much. On behalf of Reverend Jeff Radcliff and also our staff and production crew here at the New Thought Media Network, I am Reverend Michael Mangus. I'm going to wish you a wonderful week, and we will see you sometime next Friday. Bye now.
Thanks for joining us this evening for Friday's Fireside Chat with Pastor Michael Mangus. Join us again next week at 8 Eastern, 6 Mountain for more spiritual conversations for today. For more information and replays of past shows, please visit the New Thought Radio and Media Network's Facebook page. Until next week, may God bless you richly and abundantly.